Hi, I'm odeean and today I've got Toyworld's TW-C05 Shovel, a third-party version of the Constructicons scrapper. I've been a bit late to the game when it comes to picking up the Toyworld stuff. I know most people got their version of Bone Crusher and Scavenger, I think it is, first. I have those in my post box. I have not picked them up yet. But I did get the second two first, which was just because at the time I bought them, this is what was available at Chumungma. Now, Scrapper is probably my favorite Constructicon, and that's why I've started by reviewing him first. I don't know, there's always just something I like about the big shovel on the back. He's the kind of prototypical construction vehicle, instantly recognizable. And this version is very true to both the original toy and to a lesser extent the cartoon. The face is definitely very cartoon accurate as far as I remember, and he looks very G1 in toy mode, the way his big wheels are hanging out here. Shovel does have a good degree of posability, even though he's very blocky. I mean, if you look at him from the side here, you can see he has a very blocky build, and I like it. I've told you before that I like Energon, and that kind of aesthetic is really something I like. Toyworld have built a visual repertoire of blocky robots with their other releases, and I've reviewed some of them before. So if you go back and look at those videos, you'll see that blockiness is nothing new to Toyworld. But I think they've really got quite a good level of posability. So I don't know if you can see that there. There's actually a double jointed knee. It's a little bit hard to exclusively bend it at that upper joint. Like, you can do it like that. So I've just got only the knee bending here, but it also wants to do that as well. So the side paneling, this big square bit, covers that up, but it does make it really a double jointed joint. Now at the shoulders up here, I'm not really a fan of how they've used this pin that goes backwards and forwards, because I feel like it's going to just wear out over time basically. And like, if you look there, you'll see that there's not really that much friction. There's another pin joint, which is the up and down movement of the arm. Now it seems to hold fine at the moment, but I really don't believe that will stay that way. We get a good range, and now I was just about to mention that. Now this joint, which I was moving before, if you get it, like, it's supposed to be back, and when it's back like that, it causes it to not slide down. But if you were posing it and it went out into this position, it starts to transform, which is a little bit annoying. But he does have a good outward swing. If you look at that, he can stick his arm straight out sideways. So it's a highly posable figure. Now it always seems weird to me when we get these very good ratchets in places like the elbow, and these are fantastic ratchets, but very poor just friction joints with thin pins in other joints. It's kind of, you know, I know they do it for the aesthetic. They want to keep this as minimal as they can up here, but in the long run, I would have liked some kind of ratcheting here as well. Down on the ankle, we've got very wide range of motion, and that's, again, just some little pins through a kind of hinge there. So we've got one pin for the swivel and another two pins to fold the foot up like that, so you can eliminate the gap. Now again, I don't think this is very durable. So basically this figure is you've got to keep it in one mode or another most of the time, otherwise it's going to wear out. And I think for most people, after they've had their fun collecting them one by one, that mode is going to be Devastator. I mean, it is for me, it's going to be Devastator. That's really what I bought this for. The hands are very nicely designed visually. I like this pattern at the back with the kind of bolts, and if I move it down a little bit, you can see each finger there individually. Now, I'm not a fan of this kind of tiny little joint on Transformers to give him articulated fingers. I think it makes them too weak, and I don't like how they're permanently bent like that. I don't think it looks that good. I would like at least one finger to be pointing, kind of like Masterpiece Prime. And also, I'm definitely not a fan of using little rectangular slots or rectangular pegs to peg in weapons, I hands down prefer just a straight 5mm peg like this that pegs into a 5mm hole. Now this is good that the gun has a peg on it, but not so good that it needs this tab. Now you can see there that it's a pretty good fit. Like, the figure works, it's just that you can't really play with it because it's going to come loose after a few movements. So like, I would much prefer it if it was a solid molded fist without that articulation. I don't need that articulation at all. The gun itself looks really good. It's nicely detailed and it has a little bit of red paint on both sides. My toys back in G1 had green guns, if I remember correctly. So the total effect of all of that is that you can get somewhat dynamic poses, but given his blocky nature, I don't think these poses look that good. It's kind of normally better to just have him standing straight up and down on the shelf. His head has, I mean, if I lock it in properly, his head has a little bit of wiggle up and down and rotates from side to side, but there's not much travel in that up and down, so he has a hard time looking up. Now you saw that the chest can open, and that's for transformation, but it's not really meant to do that. The back of the figure has the big scoop, and if I turn it around, you'll see that it's also just a couple of pin joints, which is relying on friction. Like if I bend that down, it is very stiff now, but I don't see it staying that way. And there's not even any kind of detents to lock that in any one spot, so after a little while I'm sure this is going to get really floppy. Now already the canopy on the cab, there isn't really a cab, just kind of, there's just this sunshade. This thing is already a little bit floppy, and in truck mode it is constantly falling down while I'm using it, just from being bumped. But it can hold its own weight, don't get me wrong, it's just that any kind of touching it while you're playing with the toy always puts it out of position. The wheels feel quite nice. You can see how they're a soft rubber. So on the inside I can feel a big plastic disc, which I think continues all the way out to the edge. But we've got this soft rubber wheel. I don't know how it's going to fare over time. Let's pull that off. So you can see there is a disc under there. I don't know how that's going to fare over time. And even though right now I really like that, it's always a danger. I never forget my experience with, I think the toys that worst affected by that were Robots in Disguise, Optimus Prime from, way back before Armada. He totally disintegrated, so it just kind of soured me a little bit. And also some toys, even like my original masterpiece Optimus Prime MP1, his tires went extremely moldy and then started to get really old looking, and that was even kept in his box. So rubber is always a little bit of a danger. Okay, for a comparison, here's TFC's version on Scrapper, and looking back at this, my goodness, it has not aged well. I was so happy with this at the time I first got it. I remember when I ordered him, I was literally awake the whole night just thinking about getting this in the mail. I was so excited, and now when I look back on it, it just seems, to be honest, a little bit chibi-ish. I mean, everything is kind of off. He does have a lot of good things still going for him. He's got very stiff joints for one. I don't know how the Toyworld is going to hold up over time, but TFC's version, definitely the robot mode joints have held up. I mean, he does have this piston in here, which is a nice touch, and doesn't involve that much extra work. I really think that Toyworld could easily have done that, but just chose not to. Another very important comparison, I think, is with Toyworld's version of Megatron, Hegemon. This is an original Hegemon. I know they look just a little bit different now. I still like Hegemon quite a lot, but he's getting short. He no longer seems to fit very well in with the current stuff. He quickly became short. Even when Orion came out, he was too short in comparison to that. So I never quite understood why Toyworld didn't release a physically scaled up version of Hegemon. Here's a comparison with the other Toyworld Constructicon that I have, their version of Mixmaster. I'm going to get to him in another review. I don't quite like him as much, but they are virtually exactly the same size. Here's a comparison of Scrapper with Hasbro's Masterpiece Optimus Prime. So he's a little bit shorter. The top of his head is still below the top of Prime's chest. So I can't really recall from the cartoon if he was the same. I don't think he was supposed to be the same height in the cartoon anyway. But just going by the kind of vehicle, you would expect that, you know, I think Prime would be a little bit taller if they had it in scale vehicle modes. If you're planning to use this as more of a classics kind of Constructicon, when you put him next to something like these iGear Seekers, he's a little big. Seekers are meant to be tough guys, so he just, I don't know where the fault is. I thought these Seekers were big when I got them, because compared to classics they were huge. That was one of the selling features for me. But it seems like we're in this upwards push. Everything is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it leaves me wondering, you know, where do they actually belong? On the arm of Shovel here, we've got this little peg hole, and Shovel also comes with the chest of the Devastator. It has a nice little peg here that you would hope to be able to put here and use it as a shield, but alas, it is not toleranced in a way that gives it enough friction to do so. That's really a missed opportunity, I think, because that kind of looks good. Now, one cool thing is that this can actually transform a little bit, so I don't know, it doesn't really help him hold it, but it gives you options as to how you're going to use it. I guess it could be more of a shield in that position, but I do kind of like it just like that. Oh, look, sorry, I didn't pay attention before. I did not realize that he could actually do that. So this is a complicated accessory that he comes with. I guess those wings are more for the vehicle mode. Time for the transformation. So pop open the chest, flip the head down, close that up. Make sure that the palms are facing upwards on the fists with the fingers closed. Rotate that in, close it again, it tabs in. Do the same for the other side. Tab it in, straighten the arms. Okay, unpeg the knee guard like this and just raise it up so that they stick out. Now turn the figure around. There's flaps on the back. Just pop open the flaps. On the back of the foot you'll see another flap. What you want to do is pop them out. Now with this one you can fold it right back around like that. Open all this up, just get it out of the way. Fold this canopy section up so that it's not in the way. Now what we want to do is get this around like that, but we want you can see this ankle joint in here. What you want to do is push it down so this forms one contiguous block. Now that little bit has to go out in that direction. Turning over the other way, you can see that there's two flaps. So what we want to do is get the first flap underneath like this, and then the second flap over. Stick your fingers inside and peg them together to make it stronger. This part, which was the knee, will tab in like that, and that will also make it stronger. Once you've done that, you can peg both halves together like that, just to make it a bit stronger. So now flipping them over, you can bring out these shoulder joints and slide them down. Now you'll see there's like a clip in here, and you'd think that it's going to clip in there, but it doesn't actually clip there. That's for the transformation into Devastator's leg, and you can just totally ignore that. So this tab on the back of the arm is going to peg up into here. But you've just got to have the arm folded in the right way, like that. There we go. Same on the other side. That's it. And you'll see what I mean. This thing, it just always ends up in the wrong spot. It's kind of annoying, but that's basically the transformation. It's a relatively solid block in vehicle mode, as you can hear, and it has a fantastic rolling ability, especially because these rubber wheels are so big. It rolls particularly well, and I like that. Although the wheels do scrape a little bit on the plastic, which you can hear it. I don't know if you can hear that. It's this scraping here, but it's no big deal. If you turn it around to the back, you can see, because he is a transformer, he's got some kind of rocket boosters in there, which is pretty cool. This thing here, it kind of, I don't know, this is the weakest part of the whole toy. It just flops a bit, it ends up in the wrong position, and there isn't really a cockpit or a driver's seat to speak of in here. I think they missed an opportunity because Toyworld have made so many headmasters. They could have just had a little chair in there for one of their other headmasters to sit in, but it's no big deal. The scoop at the front has no working hydraulics, but it can lift up like this, just based on friction. So it's a pretty nice scoop as far as scoops go. Shovel scoop, I don't know what you want to call it. But yeah, definitely once that friction has gone, that's going to be totally screwed. If you want to have some G1 toy play, you can get Devastator's chest part and peg it on the back like that to make him a space truck, which is awesome. And something that he, sorry I didn't push it down hard enough, something that he can do that previous versions haven't been able to do is this, as I discovered before. So that's pretty awesome for play value. The gun, these guns can also pivot up like that, and it's just a nice looking thing. Now, the sad part is that his firearm has nowhere to attach in vehicle mode, as far as I can tell. You'll see there's a few peg holes like at the side here, but it's just totally wrong size to fit this 5mm peg. And they've missed opportunities. This is a little bit weak because there's a screw hole right here that could so easily have accommodated the weapon, but you'll see it really doesn't want to fit in there. Same with the other gap up here. It would have been so easy to just make the top portion of that screw hole fit this gun, so he could have had a mounting place for the rifle. I don't know what they are thinking. Toyworld have been so good when it comes to accessories in the past, and not so much on this figure. For comparison in vehicle mode, I thought it's a pretty good idea to get Hotspot from Classic / Generations. Now the reason I'm using Hotspot is because when I get to Toyworld's version of Mixmaster, I feel like this scales in somewhat okay way with Mixmaster, so I'm going to use him to compare later. But yeah, I feel like that's kind of not too bad. Now, you never really know how big this truck is. So there's different sizes of earth moving equipment, and it's conceivable that would not be able to scale, although I do just personally feel he is a little bit big. But I like the way that it looks together. It's pretty cool. If you get Devastator's weapon, which it doesn't actually come with this, it comes with the other one, but he can kind of balance it there if you want to mount this as a big cannon on the back, which I do. I do want to mount it as a big cannon, but unfortunately it doesn't peg in. So kind of you can see that it's not going to hold its position. And again, so easy to have put a 5mm peg here. I mean, I know there is a 5mm peg here, but what is the use of this peg? Will it fit in that hole? No, there's no way. So making this and not making it fit in that hole, that is a little bit weak, but as I said, it can balance there. How does it measure up to previous big guys from Toyworld? Well, it is bigger. So here's, I think, Iron Dreg, Slag. I really like their version of Slag. I mean, let's just look at him for 1 second. I don't know, I like the way that looks. He's badass. That's really nice. But now we have the problem where Toyworld have Dinobots which are smaller than Constructicons, which is not really the way it's meant to be. But that is why we have other Dinobots. If you look at my review the other day, you can see that I've got enough Dinobots to solve that problem. And finally, I've got it in foot mode, leg mode. And to do that, all I had to do was flip the arm around and tab it in. So it's really simple to get there. And you can see that he's got this big stiff ankle tilt. Now it's not ratcheted, but you know, it's pretty firm, so it should be good. And the really awesome thing about this is that continuing up here, there's going to be the thigh piece, which I don't know who that comes with. It must be with the next two that I don't have, but that is a big leg. And to put that into perspective, I've got Hercules over here, and look at that. I thought Hercules was big before, but the top of this only comes up to here, and we're going to have a full-size thigh on Toyworld's version, so he's going to be better proportioned than Hercules. This is going to be one huge robot. I'm actually glad I didn't buy the Hasbro version. I saw the Hasbro Combiner Wars Devastator for a really overpriced price in Big W. Yeah, I think it was Big W. It was like $200. And I thought, I'm not paying $200 for that. It looks pretty weak. And at the time I saw it, I didn't know this existed. And I think I was very lucky, because this is just beautiful. I mean, look at that. Look at that foot. My final thoughts. I really like this a lot. It's not perfect. So a lot of the time the word masterpiece is thrown around to describe this. This is, in my opinion, not masterpiece. It's not even close to being masterpiece. Just because something is big does not make it masterpiece. And I mean, they've had a good shot at it in getting it to look right. And I am sure that the Devastator form is going to be the best Devastator we will ever get. So I give them a lot of credit, but I do feel that this is still third-party / classics, not masterpiece. Partly because of plastic quality. The plastic feels a little bit, you know, it's very subjective, but I feel like it's that shampoo bottle feel, you know, just a little bit. It's not high grade. I don't know, what does that mean? I mean, it feels kind of light, not so dense. I don't know. It's just, that's what it comes across as to me. The fingers, I'm not happy with how they're done. They pop off occasionally, so that's another weak point. But just the funness of it, it is very fun and very useful. You can get it to do kind of everything that you really want it to do, and it looks how I want it to look. So I'm happy with it. I'm like 90% happy with it. Also, to be called masterpiece, I feel like the vehicle mode would have to be more realistic. So that kind of automatically disqualifies it from being masterpiece. You look at any other masterpiece figure and you'll see that the vehicle modes, they're really accurate looking. And this guy, although is fun, I think that the vehicle mode is the weakest, and it kind of just looks like they bent him up to get an approximation of an earth moving machine, not a real one by any stretch of the imagination. So it's for playing with. It's not this is not the be all and end all of Constructicons, but it's the best Constructicon we've got so far. Now, some previous attempts at doing the Constructicons I've really intensely disliked. I did not like the Make Toys version, and the Gravity Bots, is it called, the most recent one before this, I felt like it's suffering the same problem again, which is somebody else's reinterpretation of what they're supposed to be, too changed looking, not enough G1. So at least with Toyworld, they've stuck to the G1 aesthetic that I like, and for that I'm pretty happy. I just don't know what it does to my collection though, because with the sizes increasing, are we going to get another bunch of Seekers except bigger? You know, what does it do in that regard? That is unanswered and is a bit worrying, because I can't go through buying every character again. So anyway, that's a small problem, because Devastator is meant to be huge and I want this Devastator to be huge. Okay, that's my video review. Thank you for watching. I'm odeean. Catch you next time.